and how that made him feel like there was something wrong with him. I think that's so common. And I certainly can resonate with that, like feeling like there's something wrong with you. For a long time, I felt like that. And I still have times where I do think like that. But when I'm in my right mind, I know that that's not true. And it made me really sad to watch Theo talk about how he was praying that like the thing that's wrong with him can be fixed. Welcome to episode 93 of Working Towards Our Purpose. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to break the cycle and rewrite your own story. But before we do that, we're going to take a moment and just check in with ourselves, see how we're feeling, see where we're at. Slow down for a minute. All right. Hopefully you got a second to see where you're at today. For me, I guess I'm feeling pretty good, pretty excited. Did a whole day of music yesterday. Got to work on 3 different projects and really feeling good about that. I'm feeling good. The idea for this episode came from a podcast that I watched, a Theo Vaughn podcast. He just had a solo episode come out, episode 654, and it really caused me to think a lot. He had a caller call in, and the caller sort of described his problem, I guess, that he wanted Theo to help him out with. And he said that he was like frustrated of just like kind of going through this same cycle and like wanted to know how to get out of the repetition, how to get out of the cycle and move towards like the things that you want. And Theo had a lot of thoughts on it, and I also had a lot of thoughts on it. And it kind of, I was going to do it again, a different episode this week. And then I watched that episode and it made me really think about this topic. And basically I've kind of boiled it down to like 3 different questions that like maybe you can ask yourself. So that's kind of how this episode is going to go. It's going to be like 3 questions you can ask yourself. But first, I do want to describe like the feeling of being stuck in a cycle, because I think I like definitely resonated with that. Like I definitely remember feeling that when I was stuck at my corporate job and just like feeling like I couldn't make a change and just being frustrated with what I was doing, being frustrated that like at other people, like being frustrated at my boss, or being frustrated at like the way society is, or, whatever number of excuses. I think it's easy to not look inward and to look outward and to blame other things and other things that are happening to you. But I think turning inward is a better option, because you can like control that, and you also feel like you have more control over that, so it's kind of, I don't know. You definitely like that's how I think you can have some sort of like control over something that feels like it's out of control, is what I'm trying to say. So these 3 questions are all like inward questions that you can ask yourself. So the first question is, do you really want to change? Because I think something that like Theo alluded to, and something that I've definitely been familiar with, is like saying that you want something, but then like not really wanting it that bad, or not willing to do what it takes to get there. And I think like in this situation, you just have to really try to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, like, is this something that I really want? Or is it maybe like something that I think that I should have, or I think that I want? And only you can answer that. Only you can know what you really want. But I think a lot of times for me, if I'm thinking about like things that I've done and places I've been in the past, like thinking that I wanted something, but then I actually really didn't want it, or it was like an excuse or a distraction to the thing that I really wanted. Um, so, so really like having an honest conversation with yourself and thinking about like, do I want to make a change? Like, for example, if you're in like a corporate job, right? Like leaving a corporate job and trying to figure it out in a different way is hard and a lot of work. And I think I see a lot of like stuff online of like, oh, leave your job, leave your job, leave your job. And I'm all for that. I definitely. But I think you have to ask yourself, like, is that something that you really want? Because for a while, I think I wasn't ready to do that. Like I said that I wanted it, but I wasn't willing to put up what it took to get there. And yeah, it's just like trying to really be honest with yourself. And sometimes you're not ready for something, and that's okay. Like there's no shame in that. Um, but for a while, like I thought about leaving my corporate job for 3 or 4 years before I actually did, and likely I wasn't ready when I first thought of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but but just like trying to be honest with yourself with what you really want, and sitting with yourself and kind of blocking out the outside distractions and just asking yourself, do I really want this? Do I want this thing that I want to work towards? Because that's kind of the first step, I think, is like actually making the decision. And I talked about it a few episodes ago, but for me, like recently, what that's looked like is for music, for me doing music and like working on other people's music and saying that I do that and I record people. Like I've wanted that for so long, but I didn't do what it took to get there until recently. And I think I've only been recently honest with myself and knowing that that's what I want. And once making that decision, then, you know, you start working towards it because you've made the decision. But for a long time, I was like, yeah, I want to record bands. Yeah, I want to be an engineer, but I didn't really do anything about it. So I didn't want it bad enough then, and that's my path. And, it took me however many years of like building resentment against myself and being like, no, I do want this, to finally make a stand and be like, this is something that I want. And this is something that I'm doing. So yeah, just the honesty with yourself, I think is like a really big thing when, you're trying to like get out of a cycle or work towards the thing that you want. And then the second question that you can ask yourself is, are you showing up for yourself? And this is an interesting one because I feel like the progress to like get from one point to the next point, like it's easy to, and I've done this so many times. It's easy to like look at a situation and be like, oh, this person didn't give me an opportunity, so I can't do it. Like there was a time in my past where I had a studio place where I had a podcast studio, and like I was just kind of waiting for somebody to give me an opportunity for music and like sitting back and just like hoping that it was going to happen. And that's great and fine, and sometimes you get great opportunities and that's amazing, but I wasn't showing up for myself back then. Like I wasn't doing what it took to move towards that goal of recording other people and being in music and creating music. I wasn't moving towards that myself. Like I wasn't sitting and writing songs by myself and recording them and putting them out. And I wasn't doing that. And I was kind of just waiting for like bands to come to me. And it's like, why would they come to me? I'm not showing up for myself. And that's like one way of looking at it. But also too, like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting up in the morning and giving some of your day to yourself? Like, getting up and meditating or journaling or doing yoga or going for a run. Are you giving yourself the things that you need so that you can operate, in the way that you need to reach your goals and to move towards your goals? Because I think that's a big part of it for me is I've really worked hard at like getting my head right in the morning so then I can be productive and I can do things during the day that are working towards my goals. And yeah, like getting yourself right first, in I guess a selfish way, making sure you're good so then you can go and do those things. And that's like been a big part of it. And Theo mentioned that too. And I thought that was like such a good point to make is he was saying like, yeah, I'm working out now. I'm taking care of my body. Like I'm eating right. And all those things he was saying like contribute to him feeling better and to him feeling like he has now the energy to move towards the goals and to do something about changing the course of your life. And I think that's also just so important is taking care of yourself first because we often neglect ourselves. We're often the last person we think about, especially if we have other people that we're responsible for. It's often not us that we think about. So, back to the old airplane analogy, like you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. I think it's important to make sure you're showing up for yourself because another thing too, when you are showing up for yourself, you show others that you're doing that. And for my example, like when I'm showing up for myself in my own music and I'm making my own music and I'm going to open mic nights and I'm doing my own stuff, like I think that shows other people that like, oh, well, he's doing it for himself, so he could probably do it for me. And, maybe that doesn't translate in every industry, but but I think it does, like the way you carry yourself, the way you tend to yourself and be kind to yourself. I think that goes a long way. And especially being kind to yourself, definitely. So, and then the third question that you can ask yourself is, do you believe that something's wrong with you? And this is a big one that I got from the Theo episode because like I thought he gave really good advice, and then he kind of got to this point where he was talking about himself and he was talking about his childhood and how he, was raised and how he didn't receive the love that he needed to from his mother when he was a kid and how he's struggled through that with his whole life and how he wasn't looked at as a child, like his mother wouldn't look at him, and how that made him feel like there was something wrong with him. And I think that's so common. And I certainly can resonate with that, like feeling like there's something wrong with you. For a long time, I felt like that. And I still have times where I do think like that. But when I'm in my right mind, I know that that's not true. And it made me really sad to watch Theo talk about how he was praying that like the thing that's wrong with him can be fixed. And that's kind of what made me want to like do this episode because I just felt bad for it. Like I felt maybe not bad for him, but like I empathized with him because I know what that feels like. But I was like watching him believe that about himself, that he needs God to fix him or and whatever beliefs are, I don't care what people's beliefs are, but the idea that something's wrong with you and you need it to be fixed is just something that I don't believe in. And I strongly don't believe in that. And of course there's always things to work on about yourself, but the fact that there's something inherently wrong with you is like the biggest lie that we tell ourselves. And it's such a limiting belief. And I think that moving towards the life that you want, if you're trying to move towards the life that you want, you have to get rid of that belief about yourself. And you have to try to start getting rid of that belief about yourself. And it's very, it's a very complex belief. There's so many thoughts and feelings. And I've been working through that in therapy for years. And, everybody has their own time with things, but the thought that there's something inherently wrong with you is not true. And yeah, I don't know. It made me so like I could feel it. I felt when I watched him, I could feel what he was feeling. And I wish I could just like talk to him and be like, there's nothing wrong with you. And not that my words would mean anything to him, but yeah, I just want to like ask that question. Like, do you believe that there's something wrong with you? And I don't know. I hope I'm wording this right, because I don't want to come off as like I don't understand why you would believe that. I totally understand why you would believe that, like wholeheartedly. But I'm at a point now where like I can see that that's a lie. I can see that that's like it's one of those lies that your brain tells you. You know, you're not good enough, and there's all sorts of valid reasons as to why you feel like that. Like I don't want to say that it's not valid to feel like that. It's totally valid to feel like that. And I think so many people struggle with that. And worthiness, you know, like not having worth. He talked about like just having no self-worth as a kid. So he would look towards other people for his own worth. And, you know, perhaps that's why he became a comedian, because he needed to make people laugh to feel good so that he felt good about himself. So, you know, it's not all bad. You know, you can use it as fuel, and yeah, but I don't know. I just like, it hurt me to see him believe that there was something wrong with him. And I just wanted to add that to what he said. So yeah, if you're, I'll stop rambling. If you're interested, if you've never heard of Theo Vaughn, he's a comedian and he has a podcast, and like lots of people think many different things about him, but one thing that I really like about Theo is he tries to be honest with himself on his podcast, and he tries to like look at his feelings, and he doesn't always know what they mean, and that's fine, because none of us always do. But he brings up the questions, and he tries to express his feelings, and I think it's so helpful, especially for his demographic of people who maybe never do that. And he's a really good example and role model for that. So, you know, not every one of his episodes is great, but his solo ones I find are usually the best, because he's kind of looking inward. And yeah, that was episode 654 that he came out with recently. So yeah, so that kind of inspired this episode, and yeah, just thinking about like trying to get out of a cycle and trying to move towards the goals that you want. I think the number one, or one of the most important things is that self-belief of like there's something wrong with you, because there's not something wrong with you. You're whole and complete the way you are. So I think I'll leave you on that. And lastly, if you struggle with being hard on yourself, and not being kind to yourself, I have a free 7-day guide that you can get in the show notes or in the link in the description. You can get anywhere. 7-day guide to trying to soften your inner critic, and it's free, and you can go ahead and download that. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you on another episode real soon.